Hi guys, welcome to the YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to cover the 5 social media tips building your own personal online brand. So you might be working in an organization, but there's nothing wrong with having like your own personal brand, particularly if you're either planning to eventually move on to somewhere else, or you want to do something else, like you maybe want to start up a side hustle, whatever it be. You know, it is good to have a personal brand, and it doesn't hurt the company that you're working for either, as long as that personal brand is in line with the organization and it's not kind of too crazy or in conflict. So here are my top 5 tips. First one is to choose a main platform. What I mean by that is when I say platform, that's like, you know, LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever. But the reason I say choose a main platform is it can become quite difficult to sort of like maintain the standard of content if you're spreading yourself too thin. Now, I know that when you look at the likes of Gary Vaynerchuk or Gary Vee and Grant Cardone, you know, they're all over everything, everywhere. You know, as Grant Cardone puts it, you know, he kind of says, you know, be omnipresent. So he is kind of everywhere. And certainly if you've got the time and you want to pick, you know, 5 channels and be on all of them all of the time, then that's fine. But I think that'd be quite difficult to do, certainly if you were trying to hold down a full-time job as well. So I would say choose a main platform. For me, I think from a social media perspective, so my main platform is Twitter most of the time. It's kind of the one that I like, and because you can kind of dip in and out of it as well, you can kind of dial it up or dial it down quite easily. So Twitter's just one that I quite like. Twitter is a bit of a funny one. I know that some people think it's kind of like dead, which, yeah, it's certainly not as kind of like active and vibrant as it used to be, but it's great even if it's just for kind of like catching up on what's going on, you know, around the place. So choose the main platform. That's the one that you're gonna, you know, kind of like master. That's gonna be your dominant platform. And then the second tip that I've got is choose 2 to 3 supporting platforms. So I would say if you're going to build an online brand, personal brand, you can't just be on one platform. You kind of have got to be across them for all sorts of reasons, not least, you know, SEO in terms of, so search engine optimization in terms of people finding you, and also just being able to share different types of content as well. So what you put on LinkedIn won't necessarily be what you would put on Facebook, won't necessarily be what you put on Twitter, etc. Not just because of the kind of restrictions on character size and posts and all that kind of thing, but choose 2 to 3 to supporting. So for me, what this looks like is Twitter is kind of my main social media platform. LinkedIn is one of my supporting platforms, more because that's where I sort of, I guess, house most of the professional content, I guess, in terms of, you know, putting my thoughts and concepts out. LinkedIn tends to be the first space that I go to because I know that most of my target audience are in that kind of corporate space. Maybe they're trying to get out of that corporate space, but that's definitely where they are. So LinkedIn is kind of like one of my key supporting platforms. And then I hate to say it, but Facebook is one of the platforms. If you watched my previous video about social media tips for entrepreneurs, you'll know that I really don't like Facebook, but you kind of have to be on it if you want to reach lots of people. Yeah, so you have a main platform and have 2 to 3 supporting. Okay, that's my second tip. The third tip is post regularly, obviously, and that does vary by channel. So I'm not going to go into that because there's lots of stuff that you can Google. But as a minimum, I would say as a minimum on all channels, you want to be posting at least once a day as a minimum. That's just the minimum. So post regularly, but also don't just be on transmit. You also want to engage with other people's content. So be liking, commenting, sharing, retweeting, all of that good stuff. And also, if you can, be funny. I know that kind of like sounds a bit strange to say, and it probably slightly at odds with the next tip, but the reality is people kind of bond with people that are funny online in social media, you know, or mega controversial. That's the other one. But I would say, you know, if you're slightly humorous, that's a really good way of kind of just building rapport with people online. Certainly in spaces like Twitter, it's all about the funny, like 100%, you know, funny definitely gets more attention, I feel anyway, or attracts more followers. So that's the third tip. The fourth tip is to just be yourself. So that is slightly at odds with me saying be funny. You don't want to kind of like in real life be quite serious, a boring accountant. and then on Twitter you're kind of like some court jester. So yeah, be yourself. I think that's quite important, but it's just recognizing that each of the different social media platforms has kind of like a different style, and people go there for things that are quite different. So just like learn the different platforms and flex your style and your tone of voice maybe to match, but still be yourself, you know, don't try to be anybody else. And then the fifth one, now somebody gave me this advice when I was first, I guess, building out my LinkedIn profile, and I was building up lots of connections on LinkedIn. I was joining lots of groups on LinkedIn and really kind of getting engaged with the conversation. And one guy sort of replied to me on something and said, hey, really, really cool that you're getting involved. You know, one of my tips for how you are online is just to never get into online arguments. And you know what? I think that's a really good tip. Now, I'm not saying that I've never ever disagreed with somebody online, because I have, right? But I think you can disagree in a way that's quite respectful, so that you're not getting into an online spat. And to be honest, if there is something that you find so offensive that you kind of just think, you know, you have quite a strong reaction and you actually want to kind of really sort of like retaliate, I would just think long and hard. Unless they're sending that comment directly to you, or unless it's about you, just think long and hard about whether you actually want to get involved there, because I think the reality is nobody comes off looking really good in like these online spats, whether or not you've won or lost. Like, nobody comes off looking good. And there's that great book, I can't remember the name of it, but I'll put it in the description. It's about public shaming, you know, and it's about the fact that social media has led to kind of a lot of public shaming of people. Whether, you know, and it almost doesn't matter who's in the wrong and who's in the right, but sometimes when things like that happen online, you get then this pack mentality, and people really go for, you know, whichever side they want to go for, and it's just really horrible. And I just kind of think that there is so much, you know, kind of like negative energy out there in the world. Do you really want to contribute to that? I kind of just think, you know, you don't need to kind of like be paying attention to that. So I would just say, just focus on the positive. Don't bother getting involved in online spats. If you really feel that you do need to kind of like disagree with something or call something out, do it, but just do it in a way that's really respectful and doesn't necessarily like escalate the situation, because nobody comes off looking good. So that's my top 5 social media tips. Hope you like that. More of this kind of thing to come. So if you like what you watched, then subscribe. If you want to know when the next video is out, press the little notification bell. And I will see you next time. Thanks guys, bye.